Hey everyone, it's Lisa with Are You My Cousin? And we are here to talk genealogy again. Hey Robert, it's good you are here ready to go. So thank you for that. Want to welcome everybody to our weekly genealogy chat here at Are You My Cousin? As you can see, I have Mary Eberle here with me today of DNA Hunters. Mary graciously comes on every month to talk about topics DNA related because I don't teach DNA. It's very specialized, right, Mary?
Right.
So if you are just coming in and just kind of getting settled into seeing us, love it. If you want to let us know where you're watching from, that's great. I am actually in North Carolina. Mary is in, excuse me, I'm gonna cough. Madison, Wisconsin, right?
Right.
So sorry, guys. I got a tickle in my throat just before I went live. So you know how that goes sometimes. So hey, Flo, it's good to see you again. And Pam, hey, yes, from Ohio. I'm so sorry. So Mary, I am going to grab some more water. So I'm going to drop off for just a second. Do you mind for just a second chatting and welcoming everybody here while I get rid of this tickle?
Oh, no problem. Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Mary, and it looks like Eric just joined us from Albany. I'm going to be talking about DNA, and in particular, some updates that Family Tree DNA recently made to their platform, and also the way that they look and analyze your DNA matches. So
very
great. We got
exciting.
a couple more people. Oh, Louise. I recognize Louise.
Oh,
from Ontario.
Making a tea. I could probably use a tea right now. I've got water. I've just been coughing. But so anyway, if we are just meeting, hi, I am Lisa. Listen, I am the creator over at Are You My Cousin, the blog and the YouTube channel, and want to welcome you guys. I do come every Thursday to talk genealogy, and once a month we have Mary Eberle comes on to talk DNA with us to help us out with those types of things. So I want to talk with you a little bit, just kind of give you an update of what's going on over at Are You My Cousin currently. So I've been really busy this summer trying to keep things going. I know sometimes people think the summer is kind of a slow time, but you know what? I just keep going right ahead looking for those ancestors. So I want to give you a really great tip that I reminded myself of this week. So one of the things when I end up getting stuck, I have, just like you guys, I have brick wall ancestors, too many of them. And I've got one that I've been working on out of South Central Virginia. And I had another researcher reach out to me. I was just sharing this with Mary earlier. And she found me through a DNA match. And so we've been talking, but it really got me back into my records. And so I went back, I said, let's get together and talk, but I need to review my records first. This was some old research of mine. So I hadn't really looked at this brick wall for quite a while. And some of the earlier research that I started with, I really hadn't seen for a while. And so I sat down, I spread it across my entire dining room table and started going through every piece, every document I had piece by piece. And I read it, every word, and I would mark down every name that I didn't know. And I discovered in documents that I already had, I discovered clues. I discovered revelations that were there that I didn't know were there. I had totally forgotten about them. Because when I first started researching this family and this particular gentleman that is my brick wall ancestor, it's been a number of years. Well, you fast forward 5, 6, 7, 8 years, 10 years, 12 years, whatever it's been. When I go back and look at those records, I can make connections that I couldn't make before simply because, one, I understand the community better. I'm a better researcher. I know what to look for. I know what questions I should have asked to begin with that I didn't. And I started to find clues that I had missed early on, that I'd missed maybe because I just hadn't done enough research. I didn't know enough about the community and the county that they lived in. And so by basically kind of going back to the very beginning of my research and starting it over for that one gentleman, I found numerous clues and actually came up with about 5 different research paths for this gentleman alone, and then a couple collateral. So why do I tell you that story? I want to tell you, if you are truly stuck on somebody, do this periodically. Go back to the beginning. Forget all your preconceived notions about that ancestor. Forget what you think you know about him or her, and start it over. Reevaluate every single piece of evidence that you have and see what else you can come up with and see what other clues you might come up with. And I'm willing to bet that you're going to find some new clues to your ancestor that you may have missed early on. I don't know. What do you think, Mary? You think that sounds like a good tip?
It does. It sounds like a great tip.
Oh, thank you. So that's what I would encourage you guys to do. That's what I've been doing in my own personal research. Here at Are You My Cousin, I am still on the virtual summer road trip with Find My Past. It is virtual. Unfortunately, it's not in real life. Wouldn't that be cool? But it is a virtual road trip that we are taking through the Find My Past records, U.S. records that they have. We have started in Cincinnati. We went to New York. We are in our last couple of days of being in Baltimore. And next week we head to Philly. So we're going to be in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania for our last stop on our virtual road trip. So really excited about that. Now, so mark your calendars on August 17th at 4 p.m. Eastern time. Jen Baldwin of Find My Past and I will be having our Facebook, YouTube live stream on researching those for Philadelphia ancestors. So love for you guys to join us and see what we can share with you there. We're having so much fun with our road trip. And maybe one day we'll actually get to do it in real life. We'll see. The other thing, so let's see, I think that should be it. If you, again, if you are new to Are You My Cousin, you're just joining us, I realize I don't do this every time, but I am going to drop a link to my website into the chat because I'd love for you to join us, or, when everything's over, said and done, hop over there and check it out and see if you might find something you are interested in that would help you with genealogy. There are almost, I think, I just looked it up this week. It's over 300 posts that I have over there. So there's a lot of information over there and love for you just to join it and see if there's anything that might help you guys out. All right, Mary, let's talk DNA. You've got some really great resources for us. I know we're going to be talking about family tree DNA today. So I'll turn it over to you and let you share with us what you have. Okay,
great. Well, I have a PowerPoint presentation, and we will be going to that. And I typically prepare handouts for my PowerPoints, but this time I just shared with Lisa, and we can share these resources with you, 2 blog posts about these updates. One is directly from Family Tree DNA, and the other one's from Roberta Estes. So I thought it was good because there were 2 different perspectives, and Roberta went into a lot of details, and Family Tree DNA also talks about things that are coming in the future, which I won't cover. So that is a really nice, handy resource, those 2 blog posts. So
I will drop those in the link. For some reason, it's not pulling up for me I'll get those in the thing for you guys.
Okay.
In the comments. So if you want, you can keep on going and I will get those over there.
Okay, great.
Are you ready for your slideshow, Mary?
I am.
There you go. All right, Mary, you're good to go.
Okay, thanks. So these updates took place on or about July 1st of this year. So they're very recent. And if you haven't gone into your results and you've tested there or you've transferred into Family Tree DNA, I encourage you to go in after this presentation and take a look. The main things that have been updated include an improved matching and predicting relationship system, and that was done by updating their algorithm. One of the really important things they did was they eliminated from the total amount of DNA that you are sharing with your matches these very small DNA segments, and those are ones that are fewer than 6 centimorgans. In addition, they're now using a process called imputation, and that is used to predict the SNPs of transferred kits. So transferred kits are when we haven't tested with Family Tree DNA, but instead we've uploaded our results there. And in the past, it was said that you wouldn't get as many distant matches if you transferred because of this problem. The two DNA chips were kind of incompatible, but now they're making up for that. And that means that you should have more DNA matches. So that's a really interesting thing to check out. They also have just some format things. So there's a new look to the main page and also to the Family Finder page. And Family Finder is their autosomal DNA test. And there are some minor things for Y-DNA also that I'll go through. So this is a screenshot showing my home screen at Family Tree DNA. And from here, I can get into my Family Finder matches right here. On the far right side is where I can get into group projects. I haven't joined any, but if I had, then I could enter them here. And there's a couple other minor things that I'll cover in just a minute. So going in and looking at the Family Finder matches, and again, that's the autosomal DNA matches, Family Tree DNA now gives us two ways of looking at our matches. And the first is called the detailed view, and then we have the table view. One of the really nice things about these views is that if somebody has done Y-DNA testing or mitochondrial DNA testing at Family Tree DNA, they'll now show that to you in your match list. So that's a really nice addition. And I would say in general, there's not that big of a difference between the detailed view and the table view, but you can select your preference. Then there are these icons on the right side of the match list. And actually, this was one of the things where I was trying to figure out, how in the world do I find my matches in common? And matches in common are just like shared matches at Ancestry. It's where you've got one match selected, and then you're able to see which of your matches also match that one selected match. And that is done through this little person or double person icon on the left on the top. And once you click that, it asks you, would you like to see the matches in common or not in common? And that's a feature that I really like at Family Tree DNA, that not in common with, because it can be very helpful to see not just who's in common with this match, but who also is not in common with them. So that was not clear to me until I read up on this new change. So I wanted to share that with you. And we also have the family tree icon. If it's gray, then that means that they have a family tree, and a notes icon. And it will be gray if you have added notes for that match. So that is just shown here. Again, if that's gray, that means they have a tree. And if this is gray, it means that you have applied notes to them.
Mary, can I ask a question?
Oh, yeah.
Can we go back one slide?
Sure.
So the in common with and the not in common with, and if you go into this later, let me know. You can hold off. So I understand that if I want to figure out if I have in common with a certain match, when would I use the not in common with? Would that be a case where maybe I'm trying to determine what line a match comes down? Or is this going to be more than what you want to cover right now? And that's perfectly fine too.
Oh, no, that's fine. So, I mean, the most simple example I can think of is, let's say that you're trying to figure out who your birth father is, and your sibling with whom you share your mother has tested. Then you might want to use that not in common with feature in order to see the list of people that you match, but that your sibling doesn't.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I get that. Thank you.
Yep. Oh, no problem. And, I think it's a good question because nobody else has that feature. So it's not something that people would even be aware of unless they had tested at Family Tree DNA.
That is a nice feature.
Mm-hmm. So this is still on the Family Finder page, and we have some new filters right here with that little filter icon. There are ways to filter in terms of whether your matches have a family tree and whether that tree is public, private, or empty. You can see here that a lot of people have empty trees, and I might want to just be doing research on people with public trees. And then the bottom portion of the list is that you can filter based on other tests that they have taken. So you can click on one of these other tests and look for people who have, in addition to the Family Finder test, have also taken one of these other tests. Family tree DNA, as I've talked about, has family trees if people have uploaded them, but they also let you list your ancestral surnames. And they used to be on the right side of the page, and now they're on the left side of the page. So that's one difference. Also, in order to see the full list, so for example, this person, you can see the ... She's got more ancestral surnames. And if I click View Details, this table pops up for her. And this is different than the way it used to be. And it splits it into the matched surnames and all surnames. So for this match, and I wasn't sure who she was, I opened up the more details, and I found the surname Fielding from England. And there are also a couple other surnames, but this one jumped out at me because I know that I have an ancestor, Jane Fielding, from Lancashire, England. And
wow.
Isn't that cool? She's
cool.
my immigrant ancestor on that line. So, so that's seared in my brain. And, maybe Hayes was her mother's maiden name. I haven't had a chance to go back and look, but I'm thinking that that's probably the case. Mm-hmm. This other one is Seaman in London. And I know that my Seaman is not in London. So this is just a coincidence. But at the same time, I was just really happy to see that they're now breaking this down. And if your match says where the location is of that surname, now you've got that information also. There are also new ways to search your match list. You can do it by ancestral surname and then the different haplogroups. And I just wanted to bring something to your attention because I started playing around with this. And that is when you're searching for surnames, it's going to pull up similar surnames. And it's not going to give you a choice. So at Ancestry, if you just type in a surname, it looks for that exact surname. But Ancestry has the option to look for similar surnames. From what I can tell at Family Tree DNA, when you type in a surname, and this is my mother's maiden name, it will pull up similar surnames. So just keep an eye on that. So we have to have a higher degree of scrutiny when we're using this feature, because we can't assume that the matches that are pulled up really have that surname that we're researching.
Okay, I see what you're saying. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm. This is the closest surname I could find. Under match surnames, it was totally blank. Huh. So I was clued in to the fact that Psalm is not showing up in their tree, and sometimes it will pull up like so somebody had the last name Salmon. Mm-hmm. Which is the same first four letters. It will bring that up. And I think that, I'm not sure, I think they might put that in the matched surnames column. But in this case, it was pretty far off.
Right. Well, it's good to know though, to be able to make a good evaluation of what we're looking at is important, obviously, of those names.
Right, because sometimes you think, oh, I found a psalm and I'm going to see who her shared matches are, and then you're down the road 10 steps and all of a sudden you're thinking like, well, this doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So okay, so that is just a little warning. For Y-DNA and mitochondrial DNA haplogroups, you can search based on those, and but it's only going to bring it up if somebody has tested at Family Tree DNA.
Okay.
So I don't think that there's a way to say to Family Tree DNA, hey, I know my haplogroup, could you please add it to my profile? I could be wrong, but from what I've seen, it looks like it's just if you have tested with them.
Okay, that's what you're saying. So if you're uploading from another site, you're not necessarily going to get that particular piece of information.
Right. And a great example, I tested at 23andMe, and I know that this H1 mitochondrial haplogroup is my mitochondrial haplogroup. And that, well, I didn't upload my 23andMe results to Family Tree DNA. So it would be interesting to see if that would make a difference. But I just thought it would be nice to be able to tell them what I know mine to be.
Yeah, that's what you're saying. Yeah.
And another new feature is that in that match list where you can have the table view or the detailed view, if you've tested with Family Tree DNA, so they know your haplogroup, then there will be a blue check mark if they're the same. So a blue check mark next to your match who shares the same haplogroup.
Okay.
So that, I think that did not exist in the past. So that is a new feature.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. And that is a really nice thing. And well, I don't want to get off map too much. In particular, if you've done Y-DNA testing.
We're heading for the weeds.
I'll just leave it at that. Okay. Then the sort by feature. You can sort your match list by all of these different options. And one of them that I wanted to mention, I'll show it to you right here, is that you can sort by xDNA matches. Oh. And in the past, you could do this, but because Family Tree DNA was counting all of those tiny segments, they would say, all of these people are your xDNA matches. But when you looked at them and you subtracted out those tiny segments, you would lose, at least for me, it was the vast majority of those xDNA matches.
Okay.
So we have this much nicer threshold where we're only looking at those big xDNA matches. And then if you sort by them, it will show you on the right side how much xDNA you're sharing.
Okay.
And you won't be wasting your time determining, like, is this really a true xDNA match? So that is a huge benefit.
Cool.
The advanced matches is where you can look to see if somebody matches you on multiple tests. And they've moved that to the home page. And I'll show you what that looks like. So it opens up this page, and then you can select test, and then you tell it whether you want to only to be seeing people that match you on all of the selected tests, or you can say yes or no. And you can also search by last names that start with, and then you can type in a letter or a string of characters. So that's another feature. And because this applies to different tests, I think that's why they pulled it and they put it on the main page.
Mm-hmm.
And you could also do xDNA, xDNA plus Family Finder, although that is pretty duplicative of what I just talked about.
Mm-hmm.
The Chromosome Browser, there are two ways to get into it, either through the Results tab, and then you go to Autosomal DNA, and then you select Chromosome Browser. And that, I think, is the way it used to be. But now you also, if you click on a match, so I've got my aunt who tested here,
Mm-hmm.
then this new window will pop up and say, would you like to compare relationship? So what does that mean? That means, do you want to pull this person into the Chromosome Browser?
Okay.
So that is another way to get to the Chromosome Browser. And they do mention that right here. Compare matches in Chromosome Browser, and then you can jump into it right there. So there's one thing that's different about the Chromosome Browser that I hope that they fix. And that is that when you download segments, so this is just a Chromosome Browser. I've got my aunt with the blue segments and a couple other matches, and I'm just showing chromosomes 1 and 2, but of course I've got 1 through 22 plus my X, and oftentimes we want to download the segments, and it goes into a spreadsheet. So you just click that button, and you get a spreadsheet. So here is the spreadsheet that I get for these matches, and what's different is that this is now displayed based on chromosome number.
Okay.
So you can see my aunt is right here, but then another match is here, and another match, and we get to chromosome 2, and there is my aunt again. And if we want to copy this data and use it in a program like the chromosome mapping program over at DNA Painter, you would have to highlight the rows, for example, for my aunt. And now it's broken up. So what I've been doing is I've been sorting this table based on the match name. And that will put everything from each match together. So I'm not sure why that got changed, but that's, for people who use Excel, and I'm not a huge Excel user, but the sorting is pretty easy to do in that program.
Yeah.
Or you could just, slowly copy and paste and without sorting it. So just a couple other things about the Y-DNA. They also have that detailed and family view. One thing that's different is that in the past, if you tested, let's say, 67 markers, and that's highlighted here, if you had 0 matches, Family Tree DNA would automatically bump down to the next level, which is 37.
Right.
And show you the matches at 37. And they no longer do that. They make you click the tab. And this is from my brother, where he had 0 matches at 67. And I can see that he's got 1 here, 1 here, and 11 here. But if I'm new to the program, I might just stop when they said you've got 0.
Yeah.
So I wanted people to know that you can click through and see those other tests.
Yeah, that's good to know.
And then the other things, well, this is like a new little feature that is nice to, just in terms of cluing you into where your matches are from. And that is they're putting these flags on. So instead of, for some people, it's pretty easy. We've got some Scandinavian names, but for me, I wouldn't be able to tell you if they're Norwegian or Swedish. So this is just, jumps out at you and lets you know where people are from. And that is if they've listed their oldest known patrilineal ancestor.
Right.
So that's a nice feature. And then there's something called the tip calculator for Y-DNA, and that tells you how many generations you need to go back to find a common ancestor. And, it's rough guidance, but it gives you an idea. And for some reason, they now, in your match list, there's now this little set of well, I guess it's a graph. And if you hover over it, it says time predictor. So when you click on that, then you go into, they're back to calling it a tip calculator. And they give you this table that they always gave you with the tip calculator.
Right, yeah.
So just slightly different in terms of format. And, but, you just keep on going and it's back to the same thing. The last thing I wanted to remind everybody about in terms of family tree DNA is that they allow you to appoint a beneficiary. And it's really easy to do. It's under account settings and then account information and then beneficiary information. And I've completed it. It just, asks you who it is and their contact information. And this is really nice because a lot of times when we're reaching out to matches, if they've passed away, then family tree DNA doesn't know how to connect you with their next of kin or their beneficiary. But if they've filled out this information, then I believe they will pass your message on to the person.
Oh, that's good to know.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll bring that up, actually. I'm glad you brought that up. I think this is an important thing to remember, the beneficiary thing. I actually, several years ago, I had a research partner on a large family research project we were working on together. It was personal research for both of us. And but he kind of did all the DNA and I did the paper stuff because I had access to the records here in North Carolina and he was somewhere else. And he was very, very good at DNA. He was one of the early adopters. Unfortunately, he has since passed away. And so I would love to be able to get those records and, to get back into it. And because we had done we had reached out to my cousins on my side of the family and this whole thing. And so that's good to know. I'm hoping that he did that. So I need to check that out, actually. Mm-hmm. But that's what can happen. It was like overnight, all of a sudden, I couldn't figure out how to get back in.
Right.
Records, so
sometimes people share login and passwords with co-researchers or family members, and then this kind of thing, it doesn't matter. Right. But I guess it still does because, like let's say you've got a Y-DNA match at 37 markers, you've tested at 111, and you think, oh boy, I really wish that other person would test out to 111, and I'm happy to pay for it, but, when I send the email, it doesn't go through.
Right.
So I think in those instances, that's where having the beneficiary would be really important.
It would be really nice, yeah. So I'm glad you brought that up. I think that's something we can, encourage people to do.
Mm-hmm. That's great. So I'm happy to answer questions. And thanks, everybody.
All right, I'm bringing us back.
Okay, I'll stop sharing.
There we go. Oh, no, you're good. I got it. So yeah, guys, if you have questions about that with the family tree, I knew they had made changes and I had seen them briefly, but to be honest, I really hadn't spent a lot of time in my DNA this summer. So I had not spent a lot of time over in that. And so I popped over while you were talking. And before we got on, Mary and I were talking about a DNA cousin who reached out to me recently, and we were working on getting together. And sure enough, he had popped up pretty close to the top, actually, for matching. And so I'm like, oh, yes, I need to now go look at these with a different look at the features. So I'm really excited about that. So
good.
All right, guys, if you have questions, again, feel free to pop them into the chat, because we can answer those for you. Getting an echo, sorry. So yeah, that'll be cool. But thank you so much, May. That was such a big help. So those of you guys who are struggling with your DNA research and needing help, Mary does have she does have a website. It's called DNA Hunter is her name, and she has a DNA Hunter Society, which is our educational group that she has. So you guys might want to check that out. I'm going to give you a link to her website. So I can't talk and type at the same time. I know it. One of these days, I'm going to figure it out, guys. I'll be able to type and talk at the same time. So I'm going to drop that in the chat, and you can check out her site if you need to. And it would help if I had the link, wouldn't it, guys? Just 1 second. I got it. I had it somewhere. I had it, guys. I'll get it. There it is. So yeah, we can do that. And I am going to find that. So any questions showing up in the chat over there? Let's see. Oh, you are welcome, Pam said, thanks for the information. You are more than welcome, Pam. I am so glad that you have found that helpful to you for that. I am almost there with my site, with my link there. So don't forget, guys, next week on Tuesday, be sure to put onto your plans, August 17th, that's Tuesday. It is at 4 p.m. So notice the time change there, 4 p.m. for the joint Facebook Live and YouTube Live with Find My Past, Jen Baldwin. And we're going to be talking all about Philadelphia. Now, if you don't have Philadelphia ancestors, don't worry, come anyway, guys. One, Jen and I have a lot of fun together. Two, a lot of times what we're talking about, while we may be talking about a specific city or specific location, we are also talking a lot of strategy. And strategy, it is applicable regardless of where you are researching. So you may want to go ahead. I would encourage you to go ahead and join us, and you might very well find something, new tips and tricks that would be helpful to your research, even if you're not focused on Philadelphia. And to be honest, guys, we were actually talking some about Pennsylvania in general. So I wanted to let you guys know about that. You will certainly learn how to do some using Find My Past as well for some of your records. I think it's a bit of an underused thing for us over here in the US, but it definitely has some great resources that we need to be using in our genealogy research. So again, we talk a lot about strategies as well as record sets too. So Mary, thank you so much for helping. You've really helped answer some of my questions about the family tree DNA, because again, it's not, I don't spend a lot of my time in DNA like you do. I'm in the paper, research. And you've got the DNA. So it's really helpful to know how to be able to navigate that new site. So
you're welcome. Yeah. And I was thinking, I do have really detailed instructions on transferring into websites, including family tree DNA. So I can leave that. Should I leave it in the comments below?
Sure. Okay. You can leave it in the comments below. Yeah, you can always, and you can always come back into, even after we're not live, you can come back in and pop that into the comments. That'll be perfectly fine. Yeah. And if you want to send me a link to it, I can share it. Okay. Places to help people out.
Great. So, great. And especially now that they're doing that imputation where, in the past it was like, well, should I transfer or should I, should I order a brand new test because I'll get more matches? But now we're supposed to be getting more matches because of the imputation if we transfer. So it's free, but I always recommend paying the $19 because you pay it to Family Tree DNA and then you get all of the features as if you tested with them, including the Chromosome Browser, including being able to look at your matches trees, all of the functionality. Oh, wow. So, it's a really small price to pay. And it's, it's always less than even the best sales that they offer, on the test itself.
Yeah, because they're actually having sales now, but if you, I like that. I didn't realize that. So guys, what she's saying is if you test it, Ancestry or 23andMe, and you upload to Family Tree, you can do it for free. But if you do I guess upgrade it and pay the $19 you said, then you still get actually access to all these features that even as if you had already tested it, Find My Past. So that's a good, or Find My Past, Find Family Tree DNA. Find My Past is on the brain today, which is a good thing, but at Family Tree. So I think that's great to know. It's a good money saver too. So that's good. Thank you so much for sharing that and letting us know that. All right, guys, I will be here next week again. So actually, we'll be here twice next week. So Tuesday at 4 for the Facebook Live on Philadelphia with Find My Past, and then next Thursday as well to have our weekly our weekly genealogy chat next week. So I hope to see you there. Feel free to hop over to the website, Mary's or mine, and check out what we've got. And we'll see you later. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye. Thanks, everybody.